The TWSBI Vac Mini is a compact vacuum filling fountain pen that's offered in two different finishes, a fully clear model and the smoked finish that we have here today. The bottom finial is flat with a slight dome shape, and the top finial features the TWSBI logo inside a red jewel. The top finial then has a chrome profile, and it's integrated into a bent metal clip, which is springy and functional. The cap has a gradual taper down and it's fully transparent. And at the bottom we have a cap band that reads TWSBI Vac Mini Taiwan. The cap unscrews in 1.5 turns to reveal a stainless steel nib. There's scrollwork on the top, the TWSBI logo, TWSBI, and a B for broad, but you can get this in other nib sizes. And on the back, we have a plastic feed with a bunch of thin fins. More about those fins in just a moment. The section starts with a flare-up that's part of a chrome piece, and then a straight portion that's smoked in color, followed by a flare-up to threads, which are pretty smooth to the touch. Then there's an O-ring. This O-ring is to help secure the cap to the barrel. And then we have a straight barrel, which has facets running the length of it. Inside the barrel, we can see there's two different diameters, a small diameter in the back, and then a flare up to a large diameter at the bottom. And inside there's also a piston head with a rod attached to it. As we work our way back, we then have an O-ring followed by threads, which again are smooth to the touch, and then the piston knob, which starts with a chrome piece and ends with a smoked piece. Giving the piston knob a twist, we'll retract the piston rod inside it, and that opens up a shutoff valve to allow ink to flow from the barrel to the section nib and feed. Pulling the rod back will allow us to use the filling system. Submerge the nib into ink and start pushing down. Pushing down will create a low pressure system behind the piston rod, and at the bottom of the stroke we see the flare out section that breaks the seal and allows ink to be drawn up. In the hand, the pen is compact, well weighted, and very well balanced. It's suitable for long writing sessions if you have medium or small hands, but you can also post the cap. It posts by screwing onto those back threads, and it screws on in about 1 3/4 turns, which means it takes a little bit of practice to get the clip to line up properly with the nib. But when it's posted, it's very well balanced, it doesn't backweight the pen at all, and it's a nice comfortable length. It's also nice to see that there is clearance between the cap liner and the piston knob. This allows you to write with this posted even if the piston knob is unscrewed. In terms of size comparisons, here's your TWSBI Vac Mini, a typical Pilot G2 rollerball pen, and your standard Sharpie. Before we get into the disassembly of the TWSBI Vac Mini, I wanted to take a moment here to compare it with two other fountain pens. Up top, we have the Pilot Custom 823, which is one of the most popular vacuum filling fountain pens on the market today. We can see the TWSBI Vac Mini is about 3/4 of the size of the Pilot Custom 823. And down below, we have the Pilot E95S, which is one of the most popular pocket-sized fountain pens on the market today. We can see the Vac Mini is just a little bit longer than the E95S. Let's take a look at these pens uncapped. Uncapped, the Custom 823 is by far the longest, followed by the TWSBI Vac Mini, and the E95S is by far the shortest of the bunch. Both of the Pilots feature 14-karat gold nibs. The Custom 823 is fully exposed, similar to the TWSBI Vac Mini, and the E95S has an inlaid nib. The TWSBI is the only pen that has a stainless steel nib in this case, and it's also significantly cheaper than either of the other models. The Custom 823 also screws to uncap, whereas the Pilot E95S has a pull-off cap. Let's take a look at these pens posted. All three caps post securely and deeply. The Custom 823 is again the longest pen in this form, and the E95S as well as the TWSBI are about the same length when they're posted. The TWSBI is the only pen that has a screw to post cap. Disassembling the TWSBI Vac Mini, you are going to need the wrench that came in the box, as well as some gripping material. The cap unscrews, and inside we do have a plastic cap liner. However, mine's pretty difficult to remove. I just leave it in place, though I have seen some videos of people removing these with a rubber band at the end of a pencil. So that is up to you. The section unscrews from the barrel. And then if we grab our gripping materials and grip the chrome flare-up, we can unscrew it from the rest of the section. And then we have this chrome sleeve that's over the nib collar that just slides right out of place. And then again, carefully with the gripping materials, we can pull out the nib and feed. Be very careful with this part. When I first got this pen, I accidentally bent the fins on this feed and eventually they cracked off. But luckily TWSBI was willing to send me a replacement for a very reasonable price. And then for the barrel, to remove the filling system, unscrew the back piston knob, pull it back. Doing so reveals the threads that have two flats. Using our TWSBI wrench, we can grab a hold of those flats and give it a counterclockwise turn. Doing so will remove the filling mechanism from the barrel. The barrel does have two O-rings. I wouldn't bother with silicone greasing those. Those are just to help hold the cap in place. And then we have the filling system itself. It does have a couple O-rings which are good to grease up for sealing, and then this one only has one gasket, which is pretty unique to vacuum fillers. Usually there's two gaskets at the bottom, one for the main filling mechanism and one as a shutoff valve. TWSBI decided to make it all as one unit. And at this point, the pen is fully disassembled. To reassemble, we'll grab our filling system in our barrel. The flare-up on the barrel should be at the front end, and we're going to put the filling system through the back and screw the whole thing down. To make sure it's fully seated, grab your wrench and give it a little bit of extra torque. Next, we have the nib and feed. If we look at the feed, there is a ledge at the back. That's to help make sure that the nib is fully seated. But also on the very back of this feed, there is a flat which lines up with a flat that's on our nib collar. So it only fits in one orientation. You'll see it goes a little bit further in once you get it lined up right. We'll then add our nib and push it back until it hits that stopper. Perfect. And then at the front of this nib collar, we do have a few ribs. Those ribs line up to grooves that are on this chrome piece. So if it's not fully seated, give the chrome piece a twist until it goes all the way in. And then this whole unit gets screwed onto our section. You can tighten it further down if you want with that gripping material. And then that section screws on to the back of our barrel, followed by our cap. And now we're ready to ink up. Inking up the TWSBI Vac Mini, today I selected Diamine's Writer's Blood, which is a nice deep red with little bits of purple in it. The mouth on this bottle is a little bit too small for the Vac Mini, so I put some into this ink miser, and I'll put a link in the description below for where you can buy one. Cap unscrews, and then you're going to unscrew the back piston knob and pull the piston all the way back. Submerge the nib into ink and push the piston down. There we can see we got about a half fill. If you want to get a full fill, put the pen nib up, pull the piston all the way down, and then push the piston up until you start seeing ink coming out of the top of the feed. What this is doing is it's displacing all of the extra air that was in the pen. That looks pretty good right there. I'm going to keep the piston where it's at. Put the nib back in and push it back down. That looks like a nice full fill. There is a little bit of air pocket still left there, but not much. Let's go ahead and wipe off our excess ink. Cap up our pen. And we're ready to write. Okay, writing with the TWSBI Vac Mini. Cap unscrews. And here we're writing with a broad stainless steel. And it's a really nicely tuned nib. It's wet, it's smooth with a little bit of feedback, a very reliable writer. Our ink, again, is diamine writer's blood. For flex, I'll turn the page. Not a huge amount of line variation to be had, but you do push out some extra ink. And for reverse writing. It's actually pretty smooth in terms of reverse writing, but the feed did not quite keep up. It kind of dried out as I was crossing that T. So in a pinch, I think you could reverse write, but it might not be the most reliable in the world. So what do I think of the TWSBI Vac Mini? I really like this pen. It's compact, yet it has a huge ink supply. It's a reliable writer, and it's comfortable to write with both posted and unposted. Are there areas to be improved with this pen? Sure, there always are. And let's take a look at a couple right now. I would start off with the cap liner. I think it looks a little bit out of sorts being this gray color surrounded by a clear cap. I wish either they would have considered making this clear as well, or done away with the cap liner altogether and just have a step up in the resin. Also, the feed is very fragile. This is probably one of the thinnest ribs I've seen on all the pens that I've had. And as I noted, when I first disassembled this pen, the ribs broke on me. So I wish that TWSBI would maybe consider bulking up the ribs on this feed at least. I found this section comfortable. I like the flare up at the end, but I could see some people having issue with this because it is pretty much a blocky, straight design. It's not the most ergonomic in the world. Yet again, for me, it feels pretty comfortable in the hand. I don't have any issues writing long term with this. The ink supply, again, I said is fantastic. I don't really know any other compact pens that have this level of ink supply, unless you're like eyedroppering a pocket pen. And then the only other thing would be the posting of this pen. I love that it posts securely and deeply, and I don't mind that it's a threaded post. However, I don't like the fact that it takes 1 3/4 turns to post this. What that means is it really has a learning curve to get it so that the clip is oriented upright while you're writing. I think a lot of people will find that a little bit frustrating, especially when they first get this pen. Besides that, I think that TWSBI maybe could also just give this model a little bit more love and offer it in other colors besides clear and black. I think that what they've done with the 580 model is fantastic, and I would love to see them do that with this as well. So I'm a big fan of this pen. Again, it's a great writer. It's comfortable for the most part, and it holds a huge amount of ink supply in a very small package. And that just leaves me to say, Thank you for watching.